G'day, I'm Mark from Tyres Off-Road Adventures. Welcome to this episode on my YouTube channel. This is another gear review video. So a couple of months ago I did a review or comparison between the Thumper Mk2 and the ARB air compressor. So I'm staying in a similar theme this time around. This is another compressor review, and this one is the Ryder Ultimate Air Compressor by Supercheap Auto. So just want to go through a few things with this. I just jumped on the website before I started filming just to double check the price. It's on there for 265 bucks. I have seen it cheaper than that. I think, you know, when Supercheap Auto have their public holiday sales, their Father's Day and all those sorts of things, they do come down in price a fair bit. But the standard price, if you go into a shop or buy it off their website, is 265 bucks. It's 160 litres, pulls 45 amps apparently, maximum current draw. There's a switch over here on the side, and we've got a circuit breaker there as well. Now it says that it comes with a 5 metre hose, and it does come with a 5 metre hose, but and I've pulled this is obviously the bag it comes in. I've actually had it apart. I pulled it out to check what was in there and to measure the hose. So this is the hose. It's a fraction over 5 metres long, so that's fine, all good. But what it actually also comes with is this piece and this piece. And this piece here I really like. It's a quick, spring-loaded quick release coupling, I suppose, that goes onto the tyre valve. So instead of having to screw on, a lot of compressors just have this screw fitting here. This one comes with this extra little piece here, and it just makes it a quick connect fitting, so that's pretty cool. So this piece of hose here with a gauge in it and the quick release coupling is just under a metre. So you have to join this to the hose via the coupling, as simple as that. Now, so when it says it's a 5 metre hose, when you join these two together, it's actually 6 metres. So just wanted to clarify that point. I have got that out. I did actually put the compressor at the front of the vehicle. I run the hose down to the opposite rear tyre, and I still had plenty of hose. So 5 metres would have been a little bit close, but 6 metres is plenty. So just wanted to clarify that. Now also in the bag you get these little adapters here. You get the basketball or football tyre inflation needle, I suppose, and there's a couple of other adapters there which I think are used for airbeds, that sort of thing. I don't know, I've never used them. It also comes with a new filter. So it comes with the silver filter cap, gasket, and the actual filter itself, and that goes in there. So I'm not sure how long it takes to block that filter up, if you use it a lot, whether you're on the sand or whatever, but it's kind of nice that you get the extra filter. Now also in the bag you get this 10-page manual, which is pretty good. Don't think it's probably normal that you would get such a comprehensive instruction manual with one of these types of compressors. Gives you a few of the stats in the front of the book, and it does actually tell you, depending on your tyre size, how long it should take to pump up a tyre. It says here that it's a 5 metre hose and a 0.5 metre other piece of hose there with the gauge on it, but as I said, it's not 5.5, it's 6. So the duty cycle is 45 minutes, which we might give that a crack in a later test. 18-month warranty, so from the date of purchase, so that's pretty cool, especially with the size of the network that Supercheap Auto have. So if it does have an issue within 18 months, just take it to your local Supercheap Auto, pretty straightforward, as long as you keep your receipt, I would imagine. So the really obvious thing with this is that it is very similar to a number of other compressors on the market, and in particular one that's familiar to me is the Thumper. They're very similar, and I'm going to show you how similar they are. I'm just going to put this gear away, and I just so happen to have my Thumper Mk2. So as I said, they're very similar. They're not identical. The casting on the head is different. It's a different shape. The handle's different. The holes, the air holes around the motor are different. There's a couple of other little bits and pieces that look different, but they are very similar. Now, I've read plenty and heard plenty of people say that, you know, these style of compressors are just a copy. You know, they come out of the same factory in China, they splash a bit of different coloured paint on them, they put a different sticker on them, but they're the same thing. Now, that could be true. I've got absolutely no idea if that's true or not. Could be. But I find it a little bit hard to believe that with China the size it is, and China's thing, if you like, is manufacturing stuff. That's just what they do. They've got factories everywhere. So I find it really hard to believe that there's only one factory in China that produces this style of compressor. I would imagine that there are lots of different manufacturers and factories in China that are making all sorts of products like these, you know, all over the place. So, as I said, I find it a little bit hard to believe they all come from the same factory. Maybe they do, don't know. But what I'm going to do, instead of sort of sitting here and going, yeah, they look really similar, but they're not, what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to test them against each other. So this video is a comparison between the two. So the Ryder Ultimate from Supercheap and the Thumper Mk2 from 4Drive Supercenter. Now, there were comments made on my video, the last one I did, and I know there's been other similar comparisons made, and there's quite a few comments. People say, oh yeah, but you know, you can buy 3 of these for the price of that. Now that's fine, and that's not what the comparison is. I'm not really testing or comparing the price as such. I mean, going on that theory, I would have to find, this is about 90 bucks, depends on what deals they got going, but let's say they're 90 bucks. So going on that theory, the only way I can, you know, fair comparison is to pit this against another $90 compressor. So I don't really think that's feasible. So I'm pitting 2, you know, this is probably one of, if not the most popular compressor in the country. And I'm assuming that the Supercheap Auto one, if it's not already, it will be pretty popular simply because it's sold at Supercheap Auto and they're huge. So I think it's a pretty fair comparison. Yeah, it's a third of the price roughly, but I still think it's definitely worth comparing them because they're sold, they're aimed at the same people, they're aimed at the same market, and the question is, do you pay extra for one of these from the local shop where you can take it back within 18 months after you bought it if you've got a warranty issue? Or do you go with the cheaper model and then, you know, if you do have an issue, deal with the supplier via email or phone? You know, basically what I'm saying is, for not everyone, I know they've got a couple of shops, but generally speaking, you can't just waltz into it, you know, the shop in a local town and swap it over. So I think it's a fair comparison, and I'm going to compare it anyway. So, oh, actually, there's one more thing I didn't talk about. What I've actually done is on the ends of the hoses. Now, both of these compressors come with alligator clips to clip onto your battery. So I've cut those off and I have soldered on the little terminals, and I've put Anderson plugs on each of these compressors. Now, the reason I've done that is for testing purposes. So I picked up this little gadget recently. It says it is a high precision watt meter and power analyzer. That's cool. What it does is measures voltage and amps. Okay, so I've soldered on an Anderson plug on one side and alligator clips on the other side. So the plan is I'm going to clip those onto the battery. Then with each compressor, I'm simply going to connect the Andersons together, and then this little gizmo is going to tell me how many amps it pulls, and it's also going to tell me how many volts is at this. So a couple of people have questioned about the voltage of when you're testing compressors, about whether one has higher voltage than the other. This little gizmo is going to tell us that, and check the amp draw, which I reckon is pretty cool. So I do plan to do quite a few more, or a few more at least, air compressor comparisons. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use this as a standard, you know, put the Anderson plug on, use my little power analyzer, and I think that's a pretty cool way to just double check amp draw and voltage. So enough talking. I'm going to go down the road and I am going to test both of these compressors. I am going to use my Hilux, which has 265 75 16 tyres on a 16x7 wheel. Now, I really did want to test these compressors on a bigger tyre. My 60 Series Land Cruiser has 33-inch tyres, but unfortunately it's in the shop at the moment because I think I've blown the front diff. I blew the rear diff a few months ago, and I took it out the other weekend, and now I think I've blown the front one. So it's in the shop on the hoist, possibly getting a new diff. So I don't have it here with me, so we're going to be testing it on the smaller tyres, but that's what it is. So I've talked enough, I think. So what we'll do is go down the road and put these two compressors through their paces. Right, we're going to do the compressor comparison now. Now I've actually roped in a helper to give me a hand. Say hi, Holly. Hi. What we're going to do is we're going to start off with the Thumper first. I've got my little amp meter gauge hooked up here. And one thing I'm going to do, which I didn't mention, was I'm actually going to measure the temperature of the hose with a thermometer. I know the last test I did, I was a bit concerned about how hot the hose got on this, so I'm going to test the temperature. I'm going to do the same with the Ryder as well. So test conditions, as I said before, 265 75 16 tyres, 16 by 7 inch wheels, and I'm going to go from 16 psi to 40 psi for all 4 tyres. Now also too, just to clarify, the time that I'm going to record is the time that the compressor starts at 16 psi and the time the compressor stops at 40 psi. So not time to connect the valve and all that sort of stuff, actual inflation time. So alright, we'll get on with it and give it a test. What do you reckon? Yep. Sweet. Right, I've just completed the test with the Thumper. Now I'm just going to read out these times for each tyre. Tyre number 1, 3 minutes 25. Tyre number 2, 3 minutes 25. Tyre number 3, 4 minutes 30. And tyre number 4, 5 minutes. So I'm pretty sure, in fact I know, there's something wrong with the compressor because that's just not what I got last time. And I think I've only used it, I think I've done one beach run since the last comparison, I think. Yeah, no, I have, because I've put a diff. So it hasn't been working much. So I've only used it once. So last time, all 4 times were around about the same. I think they were around about that 3 minute 30 mark. So I think something's wrong. So I'm going to get in contact with 4Drive Super Centre and see what the go is, see if I can get the warranty claim and see if they'll swap it over. Now, on my little power analyzer, got up around, I think the max was 36 amps that it drew. It did fluctuate a bit between say around 29 to 36, but I did notice on the last 2 tyres it did drop off. So the first 2 tyres are up around the 35, 36 mark, and the last 2 seem to be hovering around 29, 30. So that probably indicates that something went amiss with this and it wasn't drawing as much. The temperature of the hose, it didn't get as hot as I thought it would or did. It got to 71 degrees max. So that's measured about 6 inches off the coupling. But even now, I've only just finished this test like 2 minutes ago, and that's cool to touch, and it wasn't like that last time. So I think, yeah, like I said, something's gone amiss with this. I don't know, I can only test what I've got. So what I'll do now is I'm going to do exactly the same test with the Ryder and see how that goes. You ready? Yeah. Sweet. Rightio, that's the Ryder test complete. It's a bit surprising because it's really quick, really quick. The first tyre came in at 2 minutes and 5, the second tyre at 2 minutes, and the third and fourth tyres at 2 minutes 15. So Forgetting the fact that the Thumper had some issues on the third and fourth tyre, it was well over a minute, nearly a minute and a half quicker. The Ridge Ryder that is quicker than the Thumper. Amperage draw, it got to the highest I saw on the little power analyzer was 43 amps. It did dip down to about 39 by the end. The voltage stayed pretty steady, sort of around that 13.1 to 13.25, around about that mark. The hose did get pretty hot. The highest temperature I saw it get to was 76 degrees, so it does get pretty warm. One thing I did forget to mention was that, as per my last test, I didn't use the gauges on either of the compressors. I used this ARB gauge. Both gauges on these compressors are different to this. The Ridge Ryder reads about 3 or 4 psi under this, and the Thumper's a little bit closer, but as I said, I'm just using the same gauge for both. So going on that test, forgetting the fact that the Thumper didn't last all 4 tests, even if you take it off the first 2 results, this is a much quicker compressor. So this comparison is done and dusted. The champ in this test is the Ridge Ryder, and I'll give you I'll do another video soon, hopefully, and let you know how I go with the warranty replacement on the Thumper. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Holly. I'll have some more videos out soon. Thanks for watching.